You ever look at these massive companies, right? Thousands of people, huge, complicated goals, and wonder, how on earth do they get everyone pulling in the same direction? Well, it's not magic, it's a blueprint. And today, we're going to break that blueprint down piece by piece.
So here's the big question we're tackling. It seems simple, but the answer is pretty fascinating. How does a company take some huge, ambitious dream and actually turn it into a real, tangible thing? That's exactly the journey we're about to go on.
All right, here's our game plan. We're going to start with the big picture, the why. Then we'll look at the strategic map they use to navigate. After that, we'll get into the nitty-gritty with the action plan. We'll see how they stay on course, and we'll finish up with the Master Builder's Toolkit full of everything you need for success. Let's do this. Okay, first things first, the big picture. Look, every great plan, every successful company, it all starts with a super solid foundation. This is all about nailing down your why long before you ever get to the how. It really all kicks off with a vision. Just think of this as the North Star. It's that huge, inspiring, long-term dream that actually gets people excited to show up to work. It answers that one big question. If we nail this beyond our wildest dreams, what will we have become? A dream is amazing, but a dream without a plan is just a wish, right? That's where the mission comes in. This is the practical roadmap to get to that visionary destination. If the vision is the what, the mission is the how. The actual stuff the company has to do, day in and day out, to make that dream happen.
And finally, you absolutely need some rules for the road. Those are the company's values. Think of these as the non-negotiables, the moral compass. They guide every single decision and make sure that the company gets to where it's going the right way.
And this quote just puts it all together perfectly, doesn't it? Your vision is the dream, your mission is the game plan, and your values are the rules of the game. Simple, powerful, and absolutely essential.
All right, let's move on. Now that we've got the why all figured out, how does a company actually translate that into a real, concrete strategic plan? Well, this is the part where they draw the map.
And the main tool for this is something called the Balanced Scorecard. You gotta forget just looking at profits. This thing is like a company's GPS, helping it navigate the entire business landscape for long-term success. It's less about winning one little battle and a whole lot more about winning the entire war.
Now, what's so cool about the scorecard is how it's all connected. It's a logical flow, kind of from the bottom up. See, you start with your capabilities. That's your people, your tech. That foundation lets you improve your internal processes. Better processes mean happier customers. And you know what happy customers do? They drive your financial results. It's all one big chain reaction.
This analogy just makes it crystal clear. You can't just slap on a roof, which is your profits, without first pouring a really strong foundation of skills and tech. Then you build the walls of efficient processes, which in turn holds up the whole structure that serves your customers. It just makes sense. Okay, so we've got the foundation, we've got the strategic map. Now it's time for the action plan. How do you actually fund all this and execute the blueprint? Well, this is where budgeting comes in. A budget is so much more than just a boring spreadsheet. Seriously, think of it as the engine that actually turns a strategic plan into real-world results. It's what gives money to the big ideas, gets all the teams on the same page, and makes sure stuff actually gets done.
And it's important for so many reasons. A good budget gets different departments talking and working together. It makes sure money and people are used wisely, and it's a huge communication tool. And yep, it's that GPS again, tracking everything to make sure you're still heading toward that big goal.
But not all budgeting is created equal. You basically have two main styles. There's authoritative, or top-down, which is fast and keeps everyone aligned with the big strategy, but it can feel a little disconnected from the folks on the front lines. Then you have participative, or bottom-up. This gets way more buy-in and uses team knowledge, but it can be slow, and you risk people setting goals that are way too easy to hit. Honestly, the best approach really depends on the company and the situation.
So you've got your plan and it's in motion. But here's the thing. A plan is totally useless if you don't check your progress. This next part is all about the inspection, making sure the build is actually going according to the blueprint.
And the key tool here is something called variance analysis. It's a really simple but incredibly powerful idea. You just compare what you plan to do with what actually happened. This is how you figure out where you're winning and, maybe more importantly, where you've gone off track. I love this analogy. It's just perfect. The budget is like punching your destination into the GPS. And variance analysis,
That's you, checking the screen to see if you're still on the route. It lets you make those little corrections in real time before you end up totally lost. And this whole process, it isn't a one-and-done thing. It's a continuous cycle. You plan, you do the thing, you analyze how it went, and then, and this is the important part, you use what you learned to make the plan even better next time. It's a constant loop of learning and getting better.
All right, let's put this all together. What are the key tools, the essential mindsets that a master builder needs in their toolkit to make this whole blueprint actually work?
Here it is, the essential toolkit. First, everything in the budget has to directly support the big strategy. You absolutely need your leaders on board. Departments have to work together, not in their own little bubbles. And crucially, you have to stay flexible and keep it simple. Nobody uses an insanely complicated budget. And communication? Well, that's the glue that holds this whole thing together.
And this is the ultimate takeaway, right here. Good budgeting isn't some boring exercise in cutting costs. It's a dynamic, strategic process. It's all about planning smart, working as a team, and being agile enough to adapt and win.
So, from a huge vision all the way down to a flexible day-to-day action plan, that's it. That's the blueprint for turning a dream into reality. It's a super powerful framework for any company, or hey, even for your own personal goals. So the only question left is, now that you have the blueprint, what will you build?